Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for WandaVision. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Look, if you've watched any episode of WandaVision, then you already know that it's pretty much an Easter egg hunt for adults, given all the references that they throw out. However, most recently, I think that WandaVision has dropped one of the biggest clues, and that was to Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. Now, to my surprise, apparently some of these clues have gone over some people's heads. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 4 clues from episode 4 of WandaVision that will set up the Fantastic Four. You see what I did there? Come on now. Look, all of that coming up next. Okay, at this point in the game, I think it's very obvious to state that the MCU is not a direct adaptation of the comic books. They only loosely inspire things from the comics. So with that said, I think it's important just to highlight the core components from the Fantastic Four in the comic books, and then we can talk about how that can translate into the MCU. So first and foremost, the Fantastic Four are composed of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Susan Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, her brother Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. Reed Richards is considered to be one of, if not, the smartest person on Earth, and maybe even the galaxy. Because of his intellect, he's a brilliant inventor, scientist, and explorer. In the comics, Reed Richards was one of the first to create a spaceship that was able to travel to other planets. He invited Sue Storm to come along with him, and her brother Johnny insisted on coming too, in order to keep her safe. Reed needed a really good pilot to help him fly the ship, so he asked his buddy Ben Grimm, who happened to be a pilot in the Air Force, to come and fly the ship for them. While they were traveling into space, they ran into a subspace storm and they were hit with cosmic rays. These cosmic rays affected them in strange ways that they later discovered ended up giving them a number of different abilities. Reed has the ability to stretch his body like rubber. Sue is now able to become invisible and create invisible energy shields. Johnny has the ability to raise his body's temperature to incredibly high degrees, fly around, and shoot fire pretty much. And Ben Grimm had his body transformed into a rock-like substance, and he gained super strength as well. Well, I think those are like the main things that we need to know about the Fantastic Four, their origin, and their powers. Now, as for the MCU, WandaVision has dropped some major clues that I believe will demonstrate how the Fantastic Four have always been here, and we just didn't know it. So the very first thing we have to do is go back to episode 4 of WandaVision and revisit the conversation between Monica Rambeau and the director of S.W.O.R.D., Tyler Hayward. He revealed some interesting information that we really need to consider. The first clue is going to be the astronaut training program that Monica asked about. Now, this is a huge clue, but I think we really need to understand how the S.W.O.R.D. agency works first. In the comics, S.W.O.R.D. is supposed to be kind of like a sister organization to S.H.I.E.L.D., meaning while S.H.I.E.L.D. would deal with the threats on Earth, S.W.O.R.D. would deal with the threats coming from outer space. From what director Hayward says, it sounds like S.W.O.R.D. was doing that, but on a lesser degree. It sounds as if they were kind of like the NASA of the MCU, except they were probably involved with much more than just basic space exploration. Keep in mind that the person that started S.W.O.R.D. in the MCU was Maria Rambeau. And this is the same Maria Rambeau from Captain Marvel that had a direct relationship and connection with the aliens that came to Earth, the Skrulls. So according to my theory, I'm sitting here thinking that, as Nick Fury was climbing the ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D., he probably knew, obviously, that aliens exist because of the Skrulls and the invasion that happened in Captain Marvel. And he probably worked with Maria Rambeau to help spearhead S.W.O.R.D. and allow that division to operate and observe whatever was going on in space. Now, as for that astronaut program that was mentioned, I think this is a perfect way for the Fantastic Four to fit right into the MCU. As I said earlier, in the comics, Reed Richards built his own spaceship to do space exploration, But to make this more modern, I think it would make more sense if Reed Richards and Sue Storm probably both worked for SWORD as scientists or something, and then you could always introduce Johnny and Ben Grimm in different ways and incorporate them later to be a part of the mission. So it's quite possible to have the Fantastic Four be just regular people who are working for SWORD or just affiliated with them all this time. Well, that might answer where the Fantastic Four started off within SWORD, but that doesn't answer where they've been all this time. So let's look at clue number 2. In reference to the Astronaut Program, Hayward says that the numbers are dismal because half of the personnel were lost in the blip and the others have lost their nerve. Now, the snap from Thanos is really important, but we're going to have to come back to this at a later time, so please do not forget it. When Hayward said that some of the astronauts were lost in the blip and the others lost their nerve, that I believe is a perfect excuse for Marvel to hide the fact that the Fantastic Four have always been around. Keep in mind that there was a 5-year gap from when Thanos did his snap in Infinity War to the point where Hulk did his snap to bring everyone back in the blip. Also keep in mind that Monica, who was snapped away, mentioned the Astronaut Program, which means that this was something that was in development and going on up until 5 years ago in 2018. So what does this mean for the Fantastic Four in regards to where they've been all this time? Well, I think it could be one of two options. Well, the first way is maybe they got snapped away during Thanos' snap, got their powers during that moment, and then they came back during the blip. Now, my theory deals with another option. I think that they basically went to space, Thanos did his snap, they came back to Earth, they lost their nerve, and they also started to display some abilities, which I would also say has forced SWORD to change up their entire mode of operations, which now brings us to clue number 3. Hayward told Monica that the program hasn't been the same since Rambeau was gone, and that they've shifted away from manned missions to robotics, AI, and nanotech. As mentioned, SWORD, both in the comics and in the MCU, dealt with space exploration, but according to Hayward, it sounds like they've changed their focus of their organization. Now they have changed their name to being Sentient Weapons Observation Response Division, where they focus on robots, AI, and nanotech. Well, I believe that if the Fantastic Four were not snapped away, got their powers, and came back to Earth, then SWORD probably would be more interested in studying them and their abilities. They may also be studying other robotic AI sentient weapons, kind of like the Vision, but that's another theory that I've covered in another video. So far, these clues have shown us that the Fantastic Four have possibly worked for SWORD. Maybe they've been here during the snap, during that 5-year gap that we don't really know much about. And because they potentially have new powers and abilities, that could be the real reason why SWORD changed up their mode of operations. But the one thing that we haven't crossed yet is how exactly did they get their powers? Well, that's where the 4th WandaVision clue comes in. While studying the anomaly that was happening, Darcy says that she found traces of CMBR, which is cosmic microwave background radiation, and as director Hayward put it, relic radiation dating back to the Big Bang. Well, that right there I thought was it. I mean, the MCU has kind of teased cosmic energy before, but now we're over here talking about cosmic radiation, which probably is the same thing as the cosmic rays in the comics, but whatever. Look, I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that. But we need to go deeper into this cosmic stuff to really understand how this all ties in. The reason why Darcy is picking up cosmic radiation is because the reality construct that's taking over the town in WandaVision is all coming from Wanda herself and her powers. Keep in mind that her powers were brought about through experimentation of the Mind Stone. Also recall that the Infinity Stones came about as a result from the Big Bang of the universe. So they leave a type of energy signature or trail when they are used to a large degree. Now, remember when I told you about Thanos' snap? Well, in order to do his snap, he did use all of the Infinity Stones, and in Endgame, according to Rocket Raccoon, we learned that when he did the snap, a huge cosmic surge of energy went throughout the universe. Well, I believe that during Thanos' snap, that surge of cosmic radiation probably hit the Fantastic Four as they were re-entering Earth's atmosphere during a cosmic storm or whatever. Let's also recall that Marvel has done something like this before in terms of giving people powers when they come in contact with the cosmic radiation of the Infinity Stones. I'd say it'd be no different than when Captain Marvel got her powers from the Space Stone, aka the Tesseract. Plus, according to the Wakanda Files, which is a canon MCU tie-in book, Shuri has discovered that the radiation used from the Infinity Stones are directly responsible for why people like Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, or even Captain America received their abilities. Alright, now I know that I said that there were 4 major clues for the Fantastic Four, but there actually might be a 5th clue as well, and all we have to do is look at the character of Agnes. As many people suspect, Agnes is more than likely the witch from the comics called Agatha Harkness. When it comes to the Fantastic Four, she was brought in as a nanny to take care of Franklin Richards, who was the child of Reed and Sue Richards. So maybe, if Agnes really is Agatha Harkness, and if the Fantastic Four do have a connection with S.W.O.R.D., I don't think it's that hard to believe that somewhere down the line, we're going to see Agnes and the Fantastic Four come together somewhere in the future of the MCU. Well, in my opinion, those major clues are exactly what has set up the Fantastic Four to exist in the MCU. Did you happen to catch those clues while you were watching WandaVision? What do you think about this theory that, the Fantastic Four worked for S.W.O.R.D., they were in the Astronaut Program, they went to space, they got their powers from Thanos' snap, they forced S.W.O.R.D. to change their mode of operations from space observation to sentient weapons observations, and well, hey, like I said, they've been here this entire time. Now, hey, let me just say, it's entirely possible that Marvel comes up with some other way to bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU. I mean, hey, when in doubt, multiverse, right? But I do think that this might be the most logical way to bring them into the MCU, given all the evidence that we've already seen in WandaVision and in the movies. So you tell me, do you think this theory is 50% likely, maybe 60%? As always, I could be entirely wrong. And that's okay, because I'm doing this all for fun. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I have to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give this a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I gotta be honest here, I am super excited and happy that the MCU is finally back and we're getting more content, because this is getting my creative juices going. And as a matter of fact, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.